All right, hey guys, congratulations to all the student athletes that found their college fit today and had the opportunity to not only continue their education but their football careers. Very proud of each and every one of them, and glad that they found their fit on their next step. I've always thought the game of football is a player's game, and it's so important to acquire the necessary talent to needs that you need on your team at certain positions. And I felt like that we did that in both signing periods. We were able to acquire 19 young men in the early signing day process, 10 which are currently on campus and are working out and going to school right now. And we added 7 more special student athletes with today's second signing class for a total of 26 men currently signed. In December, I thought it was really about bolstering our offensive and defensive fronts. And thought we did that on the offensive line with Jason Rodriguez, Talini Levi, and Gino Quinones, truly making us a 3-deep offensive line, having 15 gentlemen on scholarship at the offensive line position. We also bolstered our front with 2 big tight ends in Jude Wolf and Ethan Ray that we're very proud of. Defensively, in that December period, we added Dejon Benton, Nick Figueroa, Stanley Taufa'o, and Drake Jackson, along with interior linebackers Mananoa Tefono and Raylan Goforth. In December, we signed some terrific skill kids in Drake London and Munir McLean, knowing that we were getting ready to go to a different style of system that would require explosive athletes. We also got a home run hitter at running back in Keenan Kristen and a quarterback that I think is a truly special gunslinger in Keaton Slovis. Defensively, in the secondary, we added Trey Davis, Max Williams, and Britton Allen. And as a specialist, and now I can talk about him since he's on campus, when we lost Reed Budrovich and Chris Tillby, both punters that had performed for us, we really felt a need at that position and didn't think that right now we could go young. And we had the opportunity to acquire a very experienced player and athlete in Ben Griffiths from the AFL, a gentleman that is a true professional and an absolute talent at what he can do punting the ball. When we came into this signing period, we really felt that there was a desperate need to continue searching for defensive backs. We had lost 7 defensive backs off our last year's roster, basically the entire starting secondary, and with the possibility of losing another senior after this season. That was 8 total DBs in a 2-year time. So we felt like there was a great need at that position, so we continued to garner that position, adding Dorian Hewitt from Texas, Kaolana Makaola from Hawaii, Adonis Ote from Tennessee, Jaden Williams, and Jalen Watson, 5 guys that really make us not only deep, but also very talented in a very short amount of period of time. We also were able to garner a tremendous outside linebacker in Luzon and Chinunwosu and Porter Gustin. We were looking for a special person, and in Tuasiva Namoro, we found him. A young man out of Centennial High School that is a Tasmanian devil. He reminds us of Uchenna, was a safety his junior year, moved down to outside linebacker this year, and is a young man that we feel is an extreme talent and has got a very bright future. And then finally, when you're getting ready to go to the offense at Graham runs, you do want special athletes to help run that offense, and to be able to get Kyle Ford, who I think is dynamic in what he does. He reminds me of a gentleman that was here today on campus and with us, Juju Smith. That physicality at the position that Kyle brings, we can't wait to use. We come away with this class really loving it as people, as students, and as athletes. 22 of the 26 are from the West Coast, from the states of California, Hawaii, Arizona, and Washington. 16 of those are right here in our backyard in Southern California, 16 of those 22. Out of those 26 players, 3 are national recruits from Texas, Florida, and Tennessee, and 1 international recruit from Australia. Now it's time that we've got done with recruiting to focus on our current personnel that's on our campus. We've been, since the season ended, we put together an extensive winter workout sessions that we are currently in the middle of. It was started with Coach Ivan Lewis. who left for Seattle about a week and a half ago, and under the leadership of Keith Belton and the remainder of our strength staff, Josh Heidegger, Danny Van Dyke, and Steve Novacito, we are thank them for what they have done in continuing the great program that was already installed. The next 3 weeks for our coaches will be in preparation for spring. That starts on March 5th and that will run through April 13th, and we'll focus on installation meetings as well as working functional football movements in our winter workout program. With that, I'll take any questions that you have on today's signing class or recruiting questions.
Clay, what's the immediate prognosis for Kyle Ford? Because he had knee surgery last fall. Is he going to be able to play right away? Does he have the redshirt?
Yeah, he'll finish 9 months at the end of August. And, we signed Kyle, nowadays with ACLs and modern science, it's not really physical, it's really mental, being able to get back. And usually you're fully cleared about 9 months. That'll be at the end of August. In Kyle, we saw a unique talent that we wanted to invest in for the entire future. And if he's ready to go, he's ready to go. If not, we'll leave that up to the doctors and see where it is. It reminds me a little bit of Solo last year, of Solomon, where we knew we had a special talent. We did not know if he'd be ready for the season or not, but we knew that he was a Trojan at heart and he was a Trojan talent. So we'll see where Kyle is after 9 months of rehabilitation and see if he's ready to go. If he is, he is. If he's not, then we know we've got a great investment for our future.
Are there any contingency plans on the roster in terms of another running back? I know you guys were trying to get another one now.
Well, right now, we signed 26 today, and we actually left some space to be able to continue to garner young men if needed. One of the things that has happened with the portal is there are some unsigned players, but there's also gentlemen looking for other homes. And I remember how important Stevie Tulikolavato was, when we acquired him in the summer. So we do have space left. We've got 26 in these two signing periods, which is great, but we do have space left if needed.
You somebody that just studies the portal? I mean, is that like almost an assignment for somebody on the staff?
Yeah, Dan, I tell you, with our recruiting staff, it is something that we look at, and you look at even the recruiting services now. They've dedicated part of their service to just the portal. I think it's, with the NCAA going to this model, allowing student athletes to have an easier time to find a new home. That I think this is going to be the trend. We have currently 2,000 football players that are in the pro portal right now, and almost 1,400 of those are Division I football players. So you do look at that and see if there are guys that are out there that fit you and fit your need. And I think that's going to be the way of the world from here on out. And I think not only will we face attrition in the future, everybody else will too. I think this is just going to be common occurrence when you get to the winter that you're going to lose a couple guys that end up graduating and want larger roles for themselves.
What was it like going through the recruiting cycle as the OC search was playing out? I know it was about a 2-week stretch or a couple of days there where you guys didn't have an OC. So what was it like going through that?
Well, it was easy. One, it's USC, and I think everybody had known. I've been here. This is going to be my 10th season, and we've always have been affluent in the passing game. Whether it was quarterback wise, wide out wise, and in hiring Cliff, we showed our hand in what we were going to. We had signed 19 young men. There were 7 or 8 to go there. And we really felt the need at the DB position. So you see the needs that we filled right there. You have Kyle Ford that's in there that just is a unique talent that had been with us for a while. But everybody I think understood the direction we have been in the past. But by hiring Cliff and then hiring Graham, that we have the quarterbacks and the wide receivers and the skill to be able to operate within that system.
Can you walk us through the process that landed Graham after Cliff decided to pick up?
When Cliff left for Arizona, which I've said this, I'm so happy for him and that opportunity. To have the opportunity to be an NFL head coach, I think is truly special. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And, in doing it, when he left, I knew that I wanted to, look for a gentleman that was elite in the passing game. I'm very fortunate here because of Tim Drevno and Mike Jinks, both are influential in the run game. Tim has been an OC, knows the run game inside and out. So for me, it was to garner a guy that is elite in the passing game and has knowledge of it, both playing as well as coaching. And in doing my research, I wasn't going to rush. I knew that we had the majority of our players signed in that first signing period. It was more important for me to be patient and get the right person rather than just trying to rush. There was no sense of urgency or pressure on me to do that. So, in looking, I looked at several men, had several interviews, and then had the opportunity to sit down with Graham, and it was just a fit. It was exactly what I was looking for from his knowledge of the passing game, for how he developed his quarterbacks, to take the offense that he did at North Texas that I think was like 124th at one point in time and go to 20th, to develop a top 10 quarterback in Mason Fine. He showed the characteristics that I was looking for. And then bringing him on campus, I wanted to make sure it was a fit for him. And being able to be here. And so we spent some time together, looked at our personnel, looked at the system, looked at the terminology, and then felt for both of us that it was a perfect situation. And then that time we went ahead and pulled the trigger, and both of us are extremely happy right now.
When Cliff was here, he said that there would be an open competition at quarterback. Does that remain the case with Graham?
Yeah, I think any time that you bring in a new system, whether it's quarterback, wideout, tight end, running back, you're going to evaluate every position, and all jobs are open. Obviously, you have experience with the kids that are on campus. You know what they could do, but you have to see how they fit within the system. And part of bringing a coordinator in was to be able to, with our personnel, do we have the personnel that fit his scheme and his system? Obviously, we feel like we do, so all jobs are open. And our kids know that, both offensively and defensively as you go into spring. But especially with the new system, you're going to evaluate everybody.
Do you have any thoughts on the Brew McCoy situation? And then technically, does he still count as an initial counter because he enrolled at USC and even though he transferred out?
Yeah, he does count as an initial counter because he was at USC. So he accounts within your 25 limit for this year. You garner that scholarship back come fall.
Okay.
So it is in your initial, but you'll acquire it for the upcoming season if you decide to garner it for a blue shirt or a walk-on, or you want to use it for a midterm enrollee at the end of the fall. In Brew's situation, it was one that was personal. Some other attrition that we've had was based on graduation, guys graduating in 3 years, wanting to garner bigger roles. Brew's was personal, and I'm going to leave it personal. But I will say this about Brew: phenomenal person, phenomenal athlete. Wishing nothing but the best. I can say this about him: he loved his time here at USC. He loved his teammates. The personal relationship that I will have with that young man will be for a lifetime with him and his family. And I'll remain and let it be personal. But we wish him nothing but the best. It ended on really, really good terms, and that relationship will last a lifetime.
With your new role and with Graham and all that, how will things look different in the spring with this change? What's going to look different?
Well, I think a couple of things have already started, Dan. I think threefold. One is our winter workouts. The ability, we're doing a lot more as a team, garnering the accountability not to the individual, but to the team, and understanding that one fail, all fail. And our guys, if they mess up in any way, whether it's being a second late, whether all of a sudden not doing a drill right, it's the entire team that's accountable. So you're already getting that feel. The second thing for me will be during the spring. I'm really looking forward to, like I mentioned, I think it was about a week and a half ago, I released a statement about really allowing the OC, DC, and special teams coordinators to do their job. I'm going to focus on what I felt really cost us late in the season from going back to Santa Clara. Losing 4 ball games by 7 points or less was directly attributed to penalties and turnovers. That's just the fact of the matter. And that's going to be my emphasis going into the spring, is being able to teach situational mastery in special situations, whether it's staying up on a quarterback right near the sideline, whether it's a strip attempt on every opportunity that we get, whether it's holding up when we get 2 or 3 defenders around a ball carrier, ripping it out, whether it's 2 arms on the ball at contact. Those are the things that I'm going to be involved with, as well as getting as many opportunities as I can to garner our referees to be out at full pad practices, to be able to immediately diagnose a problem and relay that information. That's going to be my emphasis in the spring.
Late last season, you were excited to get back to play calling.
Yeah.
How tough was it to make the call to go a different direction and bring in a new offense and step back in that role?
I think as a leader, you always put your wants and needs aside for what's best for the team in the moment. In the moment, at the end of the season, I wanted to make a late season run and felt like a change was needed, possibly get that done. As I sat back after the season, I addressed what we needed to do was to be able to have an OC, a DC, and a special teams coordinator that can focus on scheme while I focused on the management of the team, the game, and the fundamentals of the game. So even though I love to play call and I love to game plan, and I will still be, in the defensive room, in the special teams room, in the offensive room, being able to know that game plan and relay information to kids as I watch it in practice in all 3 phases, I just felt at this point in time our team needed me to worry about the attention to detail things that cost you championships. I still have a very bad taste in my mouth and a bad pit in my stomach that will have to last me for several more months before we get back on the season, to the season. But for me, it's about putting the best product on the field. And for us to be the best product, I need to step away from the X's and O's and focus on what's truly important for this team, which is accountability, the discipline of the game, not turning the ball over, and understanding situational mastery. That'll be my emphasis as the head coach.
You said you kind of showed your hand with the hiring of Cliff about the direction you wanted to go. How did the air raid idea first come into mind as the path you wanted to pursue with this program?
Well, and not necessarily air raid. I want that to be said. One of the things that really struck me both with Cliff and with Graham is they're different than maybe Coach Leach, who's true air raid. You look at Graham's offense, and when you truly study it, not only did they have the 10th leading quarterback in the nation, the 10th rated pass game in the nation, but they also rushed for 2,000 yards. And that's one of the things that I think there also always has to be in your offense is the ability and the threat to garner rushing yards. At some point in time, I don't care how good the quarterback is at any level, the quarterback's going to have an off day. And if you can't run the ball, you're going to lose a championship. And in watching Graham's offense and studying it and being able to see, wow, they are in 12 personnel. They are in 2 types of. They are in 11 personnel, a bunch. Their lead personnel group with a tight end. They do garner 4 wides. They mix personnel groupings, and they still have the threat of the run in each and every ball game, enough to garner 2,000 yards of rushing over a season. That's what truly intrigued me. It wasn't true air raid. It was the ability to have an elite passing game that still can emphasize a running back.
Are there any noticeable differences between how Cliff's offense and Graham's offenses operate?
It's very similar, and both in meeting with both guys, the passing game is what's extremely similar. The concepts that are involved, the ability for the quarterback to get in and out of plays, to be able to change single routes, was intriguing to me, especially with the quarterbacks that we have on campus and the intelligence and the arm talent that they have. So from the passing game standpoint, that's what really fired me up. The running game again, I was so, we just got a special situation here with Tim being here and his knowledge of the run game. That addition, I just think makes for a perfect marriage.
As far as your open quarterback competition, is it the case like last offseason where they split the first 2 reps between JT, Jack? How does the whole thing work?
We'll get into spring, and there'll be equal number of reps for everybody, going in there. And like I said, it's not only the quarterback; it's all positions. I mean, when you end up going to a new system, you have to evaluate everybody and how they fit within the system. So to be able to evaluate, spring is that opportunity to allow everybody to have a chance to grow and to compete at the position. So everybody will have that chance.
Was there any concern Graham's coming in his system, but this staff is already in place. He didn't bring any of his coaches with him. Was that an obstacle or concern?
No, I thought it was, Graham is as you'll meet him, is a special personality. He's one of those guys that, gets along with everybody. He's a team guy. And talking to Coach Latrell Seth down at North Texas, he was like, Coach, you're going to love this guy. He has the ability to capture everybody in the room. Both staff and players. And, I think there was a comfort level to having Coach Jinks, having Mike Jinks, who had been in Cliff's system, to be able to keep him on staff with us and him wanting to be here. I think special too, because there's another gentleman that knows the system inside and out. I think there's a comfort level there. The protections are very much married up to what we have done in the past, as far as the 5, 6, and 7-man protections are very similar. So I think that was a comfort level for Tim, for Coach Strevno. And the happiest people are probably the wideouts and tight ends. So to be able for Kerry to have a wideout core that got even better today with the additions of this signing class. I think there's a lot of balls that are going to go around to a lot of people and make it happen.
How with the new focus, other than having officials there more, how will practices look different? What will the feel of practice be with the different emphasis that we're talking about?
The biggest thing for me, Dan, going into is obviously over the next 3 weeks, we're not practicing, but we do have the opportunity to have meeting opportunity to install. Okay, so we're going to do a lot of our installation over the next 3 weeks. But for me, going into spring, one of the things that we have to get better at is fundamental and technique, and even more individual periods. Because the thing that I took away from last season is when we got into penalties, it was really because of lack of technique, whether it was improper use of hands, whether it was the improper footwork, whether it's not having the hat in the right place. So that attention to detail, to be able to have additional time to work fundamental and technique with our position coaches in individual segments, tape those individual periods, be able to have the time to watch those, I think is really going to help us. Okay. Now, because of numbers, you don't have your full team. You have to be careful with what you currently have. We will try to go full speed as often as we can in team situations to allow the guys to take the individual and carry it over to team so they can properly use it in full speed competition. But for me, it goes back to fundamentals, technique, situational mastery, and just understanding what's important in winning and losing ball games.
You mentioned accountability a couple times, and I think back to the last 2 years, you've had just one offensive captain. How do you maybe cultivate more leadership, throughout your roster?
Well, one of the things is we've been young, and all of a sudden I see this, and I've had the opportunity to, over the last 2 weeks, to be out at the morning workouts, early morning before going out to recruit, and be able to watch them. And one of the things that's evident that I'm liking is our offensive line is becoming older. All of a sudden you've got an Austin Jackson that is in full command of an offensive line as a junior now. A Jalen McKenzie that is stepping up. Andrew Voorhees that is stepping up. Elijah Vera Tucker. These are third-year players now that are being vocal. And I think one of the things that happens is when your big men are taking charge, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So I think we got the right guys right now, and they're pulling guys together. It's not an individual deal. It's a lot of team, and we're doing a lot more team things together, which I think are helping.
Going back to recruiting, if Namora is an outside linebacker, you said that leaves 8 defensive backs. Was that the number you had in mind? And what's the challenge in trying to bring in that large of a group in kind of one spot in the field?
Well, we had so many spots to fill. I mean, if you look at our current depth, that's why one of the things in talking to Dan is we're going to have to be really imaginative a little bit in spring, because the numbers at DB, because of some of the surgeries that we've had, off-season surgeries, will be very limited. We lost 7 men off last year's roster due to graduation and attrition. 4 of the 5 DBs that played in the last game were graduates and are gone. So with 7 gone, plus Dominic Davis as a senior this year, we looked at it. We're 8 in 2 years. That's a huge number. So we needed not only immediate help, but we also wanted to be able to plan for our future. And this year was a special year, we felt, for DBs, not only on the West Coast, but we felt like we garnered 3 elite talents, one from Texas and Dorian Hewitt, Britton Allen from Florida, and Adonis Ote from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. We went down to the South and acquired 3 kids that we feel can come in here and help us very, very quickly. So it was a need. We felt it going into this spring. We were able to do a couple things early in December, but we knew there was some special talent out there that was intrigued in us. We fought for those kids, and we were able to get them.
I know people brought up Kyle's injury, but how is Max Williams recovering from his, and what's his outlook?
I'm in my 25 years of coaching, I've never seen a kid work harder or really is on pace or really ahead of pace to be ready for next season. I mean, he's already running straight, full speed. Not a lot of change of directions, but our doctors and our physicians are like blown away by where he's currently at. He's not on pace, he's ahead of pace right now. The kid's working so hard to be ready for next season.
Any health updates on Stephen Carr, Daniel Mater-Bebe?
Yeah, Stephen is actually is all the way with us right now as far as the winter workouts. I don't see any signs of injury right now. He's full speed. Daniel is continuing to get back. He's not currently with us in the workouts. He's on the side doing medical treatment and other conditioning items to try to get back. But I hope that answers your question.
Speaking of tight ends, where do tight ends fit offensively going forward with what you're going to be doing?
Yeah, that was one of the big things that I absolutely loved in both Cliff's and Graham's systems. They both included 12 personnel, which was 2 tights, 2 wides. 11 personnel for both was kind of the lead personnel grouping, which has kind of been our MO over the last couple seasons. Both of them looked to throw the ball to the tight end. I know at one point in time in the system there was 106 catches at one point in time by the tight end by one guy. So it's something that within the system, whether that's a wide out in 10 personnel or a tight end in 11, it's the same route, and both are used. So we really felt that the acquisition of both Jude and Ethan was imperative for us, not only for next year, but for the future, having some older guys, and Eric now, Josh, and Daniel, that room was going to get less here in the next 2 years. So to be able to acquire that type of talent with Jude and Ethan, we thought was important.
You said that you parted ways with Drew on good terms, and obviously getting a head coaching job makes sense. And how tough personally was this offseason for you, just having one thing after another and seeing that?
Well, I think it's every offseason. And this is going to be, I think, my 4th, and every offseason there's changes, and that's in every program. I don't care where I've been in 25 years. You're going to have coaching changes, and you're going to have guys that have the opportunity maybe to garner jobs that they've always dreamed about. And you have to go in and find new coaches and guys that fit you in your program. You're going to have changes in personnel, whether you acquire them through recruiting, or young men that, graduate and want the opportunity to grow their role someplace else. That's going to happen. It's natural, even more natural with the portal going on right now. So it's part of it. And over 25 years, I've learned that it's not the easiest of times, especially now with 2 signing periods, and you get done playing a game in late November, and 2 weeks later you're ready for your first signing date, and then you've got some coaching changes that happen and things like that. So it is a busy time. It is a busy time. It's one of those that when you get done with today, you get to catch your breath here for a couple days, and then you got to refocus and be able to get right back with your current personnel on campus and get started with them, because we're literally looking at 3 weeks before we start spring training.
So it wasn't tougher than usual?
Hmm?
It wasn't tougher than usual?
I think it's just, it's been similar for me each and every time. You hate to see men go, but you're happy for them and their next step. And I always love the fact that you're welcoming. Even the 10 guys that are on campus right now, I see them every morning, and I just smile because they're happy to be here and they're ready to go play. And you know, you have some men that leave you and some men that come in, and that's part of the game. That's part of, no matter where you're at in the country, you got to deal with it. It's part of it.
What-
One more. Do you have any particular focus for the 2020 class going forward now?
You know, really, you go through spring and see where you're at, and I can't talk in particulars because of NCAA rule, but it will be a smaller class. I know that going into when you look at the number of seniors we'll have in this class, it will not be as large as this class was. So we're going to have to really identify specific needs coming out of spring, whether it is we have injuries, who are upcoming juniors that could have that availability maybe to move on to the NFL, identify those guys where those needs will be, and currently see where our freshmen are at, the 10 guys that are on campus, as well as the other 16 that come with us in the fall. So to be able to say, oh, we need this, is a little hard right now. I can say from a numbers standpoint, it will not be as large as this year. It will be a smaller class.
Okay.
All righty. All right, guys. See you spring ball.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you.